Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So let's talk about 3.2.5, starting with the new Espers, the 2 new legendary Espers, followed by the rest of the new content. And we do have a brand new permanent content in this game as well. We will talk about that in just a little bit. I'm not talking about the Withering Flame, by the way. Okay, so first we have Javid, Shamash, 5-star Inferno. So Javid is a fighter who masters the art of attacking multiple targets and can provide allies with AoE damage boosts. So this is very important. I do feel like he is actually pretty damn strong. Really damn strong. Okay, so ability 1, attacks one enemy based on attack, inflicts defense down for 2 turns if the target is afflicted with Judgment Seal. I assume this is going to be a silver rimmed debuff, which basically means you do not need accuracy at all, which is perfect for his kit because he's a DPS, he's like a pure DPS Esper. Deal splash damage to one random enemy if the target has a debuff, and I do believe that Judgment Seal will be counted as a debuff because it's a silver rim debuff. That's not the same for gold rim debuffs. Now, next, ability 2, Divine Might, attacks all enemies based on attack, all enemies by the way, and inflicts Sear for 2 turns. Now, deals extra true damage based on enemies' max HP if they are afflicted with Judgment Seal. And from my test thus far, I do believe that true damage actually scales with Sear, so that actually amplifies true damage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this happens because sometimes my Intisa just deals like 1 million damage for some reason. Now, the true damage cannot exceed a certain percentage of his attack, and if the target is not afflicted with Judgment Seal, you have a chance to inflict Judgment Seal for 2 turns upon landing a crit. So if any of the enemies do not have Judgment Seal, you would then apply it with this attack itself. So one question over here, does the Judgment Seal apply before or after the attack, right? My assumption is it applies after the attack, which makes it less OP, I think. But the thing is, you will already have Judgment Seal on all enemies with your 3rd skill, which is what we're going to talk about next. Now, gain Sacred Flame for 2 turns. This is, I think it is a Golden Rim buff. It's either a Golden Rim buff or a Silver Rim buff. I'm not super sure. We need to clarify this as well. Now, inflicts Judgment Seal on all enemies for 2 turns and attacks one enemy based on attack and inflicts disease for 3 turns. Then attacks all enemies based on attack. And after Ascension, the disease cannot be resisted. Now, the thing is, I am a little bit sad that his 3rd skill hits twice. So I'm not able to use him in my APEP team, unfortunately. But that's just like a small thing. Now, let's talk about his kit and what I assume will be broken about his kit. I don't want to use the word broken, but he is actually very strong. So we got to start off by talking about, oh, okay, Sacred Flame is a Golden Rim buff. Okay, I see. So Sacred Flame, Undispellable, dispels all dot effects from Javid, includes poison, bleeds, etc. before he launches an attack. So essentially, he's just going to cleanse himself whenever he takes a turn, essentially, whenever he has the Sacred Flame buff on himself. And each dot effect dispelled grants extra damage based on his attack. So if you cleanse like, I don't know, 12 stacks of poison in one go, right? Like you take a turn, boom, 12 stacks of poison gone. That's going to increase his damage output. And because his damage actually goes up, I assume this would then multiply the true damage portion of his 2nd skill, but I cannot say for sure. Or it might also increase the true damage portion of his Judgment Seal, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Now, total extra damage cannot exceed a certain percentage of his attack. Okay, sure. Now, Judgment Seal, I think this is a Silver Rim debuff. Now, when the target inflicted with this debuff takes damage, it doesn't say takes damage from Javid, by the way, it says takes damage. You then deal splash damage to 2 of their teammates randomly, and the splash damage is also true damage based on the target's max HP, not based on your attack, not based on any of your allies' attack, but cannot exceed a certain percentage of Javid's attack. So any one of your allies can actually trigger this effect. It's insane. Any one of your allies can trigger a splash AoE true damage attack. I mean, it's not AoE, but it's just splash. It splashes to 2 other enemies, okay? And it only triggers 1 time per turn. Multiple Judgment Seal effects on different targets will be calculated. So what they are saying is that if all the enemies, right, 5 enemies, each of them have Judgment Seal, and you land an AoE attack, all of them would inflict splash damage outwards. It's like freaking, it's like Jiangmen, essentially Jiangmen. It is exactly the same. Jiangmen does splash damage to 2 other random targets when the Nether Bloom effect bursts, right? So this is like a full team Nether Bloom effect that just explodes whenever you attack them. And of course, it doesn't have to be a team-wide attack. You can just attack one single target. Any one of your allies can do it, by the way. Attack one single target, it explodes onto 2 other enemies. And the most important thing is, I feel like this debuff, this Judgment Seal, doesn't actually explode. It doesn't actually disappear. And the reason why I say that is because you would apply 2 turns of Judgment Seal. Now the thing is, if it were to expire on hit, then number 1, they would have mentioned it, okay? That's number 1. And number 2, it wouldn't have been applied for 2 turns. It would just be there and it would just be consumed. Like, let's say a Nether Bloom with 1 tick, it would just be consumed immediately after you hit the enemy with the Judgment Seal. But the thing is, Judgment Seal still stays, and all of your allies can trigger the AoE attack. So if you're running an AoE cleaving comp in PvP, for example, you have like multiple cleavers. If you can AoE, I don't know man, you can AoE like 3 times, that's gonna be massive amount of AoE damage. Insane amount of AoE damage. So he's obviously gonna be very good for the Soaring Goat. He's gonna be an excellent must pick in my opinion. Just based on this, I do feel like he is a must summon. But to add on to this, right, to add on to the excitement, he's actually probably not that much of an R2 Esper right now. I feel like he might be just an R0 Esper. Take a look at this. So at R2, his Divine Wrath, the number of targets taking splash damage on his first skill is increased to 3 from 1. So the thing over here, right, inflicts defense down for 2 turns, targets afflicted with Judgment Seal, and then deals splash damage to 1 random enemy. The target has a debuff. So instead of 1 random enemy, it's now 3 random enemies, which is pretty cool, but the thing is, this is just his first skill. It's not like one of his biggest hitting skills, but again, because we have Judgment Seal, and I'm not super sure how it works, but if you're able to splash onto many enemies with Judgment Seal, then yes, obviously his R2 is going to be extremely strong, especially for content where you have multiple enemies. Now R4, heals upon killing an enemy, heals 30% of his max HP, pretty decent, I think. R6, Eternal Light, so essentially right now, instead of dispelling all the dot debuffs on himself, he will now dispel everything on himself, even defense breaks, sears, and all that kind of stuff. But my one question is then, if you take a look at Sacred Flame here, each dot effect dispelled grants extra damage based on his attack. It only says dot effect. Does this now include all debuffs? All debuffs dispelled grants extra damage. I'm not super sure, but the thing is, this makes him really quite strong within his first 2 attacks at least. So excellent, excellent, excellent. Javid is very, very powerful, and I'm very happy that he's going to be R0 Esper. I'm definitely going to get him, that's for sure. I mean, come on, Javid is essentially me. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Now, next we have Ginny, who is a very confusing Esper. I'm not super sure what to make of her. I'm not sure whether I'm excited or not. I mean, she kind of resembles Elliot in some sense. So Ginny is a fighter who excels at both defense breaking and single target control. Now, ability 1 double fire, attacks one enemy based on attack, will not trigger a crit. It will not crit, right? Inflicts taunt for 1 turn, and taunt cannot be resisted. The target does not have any buffs, so it's important to strip buffs if you want to build her with no accuracy at all. Now, ability 2 dispels all debuffs from herself and gains Chef's Zest if Ginny has 3 stacks of intense heat. Otherwise, gains 1 stack of intense heat, and Ginny gains 1 stack at the start of combat. But this is so weird. Like, her second ability essentially just dispels debuffs from herself. That's about it. That's all it does, which is like really not much. And I mean, it just dispels all debuffs and gives herself 1 stack of intense heat. And then now moving on to her third ability, attacks one enemy 5 times based on attack, will not crit. So she's going to be an Esper that does not work with crits, okay? So if I see crit damage on her Ascension, I'm going to scream. Now, each hit steals 1 buff, and the last hit inflicts taunt for 3 turns, and the taunt also cannot be resisted if the enemy does not have any buffs afterwards, I think. So her third skill would most likely always inflict a taunt. For 3 turns as well, it's pretty insane. Now, restores HP based on the lost HP after attacking. So I'm not sure whether this is 100%. I don't think this is 100% of her lost HP. If not, that means she full heals every single time she attacks with her third skill. I don't think that's going to be the case. Probably going to be like maybe 20%. And post-ascension, cooldown on Stir Fry Hit, which is the third skill, is reduced by 1 turn if there is no buff to be stolen in the first place. So if you attack an enemy without any buffs, you will guarantee a taunt, and this skill will actually reduce cooldown by 1 turn, which is actually pretty insane. So why I say that is, if this skill has a really short cooldown of like, let's say 3 turns, right? And this skill becomes so cyclable, or maybe even 4 turns, and then you can cycle it so much, it's actually pretty good 1v1. So in terms of like holo battles or RTA, she could potentially be pretty good. But the thing is, she cannot be resisted, doesn't mean that she cannot miss. So same issue with Elliot, she could possibly miss her taunts, which could break her kit in some sense. And of course, this makes her not very useful against her heights in the first place, right? Now let's take a look at Intense Hit. It's a gold rim buff, and I think this does not actually go back down to 0. So it actually keeps on stacking and stacking and stacking. So stackable with a limit. Now when Ginny's attack is higher than the target's, amplifies Ginny's damage dealt. But the thing is, do take note that she cannot crit. So her damage amplification, yes, it's gonna be more impactful, but how much would that be, right? We are not super sure just yet. This could actually be her critting factor, and if that is the case, that could be quite huge. Because it's going to be super easy for her to build her. You don't need crit rate, you don't need crit damage, you just need a lot of attack power, maybe a lot of HP as well, and she's probably going to be one of the better bruisers out there, I would think. Now, there is a limit to the amplification, and the amplification will be less effective against bosses or like just PvE enemies. Restores HP based on lost HP when attacked, so whenever you get hit, you're going to heal yourself, which is pretty cool, right? So this is really good for bruisers, especially when you have the avatar set on yourself. You can counter attack and you can inflict taunts, so that's pretty cool. Then deals true damage to the attacker as well. So whenever you get hit, not only going to heal yourself, but you're also going to deal true damage to the enemy, which is quite nice. Now, each intense hit stack grants true damage equal to a certain percentage of her attack and triggers once per turn. Now, each intense hit stack increases her attack as well. And finally, Chef Zest Undispellable. This is going to be a gold rim buff as well. Increases Ginny's attack and have a chance to counter attack. Expires after launching a counter attack and grants attack up for 1 turn when Ginny receives a duplicate Chef's Zest. And now this is the reason why I say that her intense hit doesn't actually go down to 0, it doesn't actually disappear, because you can have duplicate Chef's Zest, which means when you use your second skill, you gain Chef's Zest when you have 3 stacks of intense hit, and you don't actually lose the intense hit. So when you have your second skill up again, and somehow you still have your Chef's Zest, you will then grant yourself attack up for 1 turn. So I'm really not sure whether is she going to be really good or not. I have yet to see what kind of content she's going to shine in. It's probably going to be mostly like RTA, I think. Just based on what I understand right now. I'm not super sure whether she's going to be good in any bosses or any kind of like major PvE content. Now here are resonance effects. R2, a new effect is added to her second skill, which is she gains an extra turn so that she can attack instantly. I might be missing the point here, but I guess this now makes her second skill a little bit better because it's no longer just dispelling debuffs from herself. She can then go back into her first skill to, you know, land extra attack and more taunt, I guess. So she's not actually wasting a turn, I think. And now R4, when attacked by a critical hit, damage is reduced by 15%, no big deal. R6, a new effect. Okay, actually, you know what? I think this is actually pretty good because she wants to get hit a lot, so this is not bad. R6, a new effect is added to her third skill. Gains Chef's Zest if Ginny already has 3 stacks of intense heat before attacking. Otherwise, gain 1 stack of intense heat. So it's quite obvious that she needs to be R6 in order to channel her intense heat really quickly. And she can also be obtained from the Echo after the update. So these are the 2 new espers, and I'm extremely super freaking hype about Javid. I think he's going to be quite broken. I feel like he is basically Jiangman 2.0, right? Embla was not Jiangman 2.0. Embla is herself. Alright, so now let's move on with the new features. Added Chaos Realm. This is going to be a permanent content. Unlocks after clearing story, blah, blah, blah. And now the Chaos Realm will be added into the Miracle Adventure after the update. I'm not sure what the Miracle Adventure is. The Chaos Realm is ever-changing. New areas in the realm will unlock over time, with each scene contains multiple stages, and each stage adopts a different battle rules. As the difficulty increases, new rules will be added, and clearing each difficulty for the first time grants a Chaos Star. Collect a certain amount of Chaos Stars to claim rewards. So it's essentially just the star system in this game. So if you beat this, you gain 1 star, and you need to beat it like 27 different difficulties, and you will get 27 stars to get your legendary Abilimon. And in the Chaos Realm, all espers will be upgraded to their full potential, and trial equipment will be available. Okay, so a lot of you guys might see the similarity between this and something that they have released in the past. I can't recall what was the name of it, but that was just a one-time event, but they're going to bring it back as a permanent content, and they're going to rebrand it as a Chaos Realm. Now, number 2, after the update, Boss Chimera second form and the Void Messenger will be unlocked for you to challenge in the Celestial Anomaly. And we have optimized the boss based on players' feedback for Celestial Anomaly Season 0, switching the order of Sunken Viper form and Soaring Goat form, and the order of Scorch Messenger and the Void Messenger. Now, the latest boss order is Raging Lion, Soaring Goat, and then Sunken Viper. So yeah, some of you guys actually raised this concern as well. But I'm not super sure whether they have optimized the boss based on our actual feedback, which is not about Javid, but more of like how difficult is the content for free-to-play players. Like if you want to get EX++, it is freaking difficult. Now, new events, Sense of Guilt, it's going to be the same thing as whatever that we had in the past. It's essentially nothing has changed, nothing. But there is one thing called the Desperate Survival, and I'm not super sure what this is supposed to be, but we will know more when it comes out live in the PTR server in like a couple of days' time. Okay, now we have the Scratch Off, which complete lucky missions and scratch the vouchers to win lucky prizes. Essentially, claim victory in the point wall during the event to earn points and lucky coins. Higher tiers grants more lucky coins. Okay, so they want to push more point wall for most players out there. So they're trying to push content towards more PvE, yet at the same time push PvP-centric stuff. So like for example, releasing of Javid, I do feel like he is potentially quite good in PvP as long as you can get him to go first, drop that AoE debuff, and get your AoE espers to go ham on the enemies. Maybe this could be the big game changer that the game needs right now in order to deal with the HP boost that, you know, Dislyte has implemented like many patches ago. Okay, so limited time Echo event for Javid, Ginny, and Ashley. They're actually going to have Ashley's return again. So we had Ashley, and then next was like, I think, Gabrielle, and then Zora, and then now Ashley again. So is it going to cycle between these 3 espers? If so, I'm actually quite surprised because there is only 2 wind type espers. Or I might be missing like an Inferno esper somewhere, I'm not sure. But pretty insane. So now we have 2 really good banners. We have Javid, we have Ashley. Up to you to decide who you want, but both of these espers are excellent at R0. Especially Ashley, you need her for a lot of speedruns. But I think Javid is probably going to be most of your preference right now. And we have a limited time up event for Cecilia, so no one is going to use your Shimmer Records. If you want to do so, spam your Shimmer Records right now. You're not going to be using it during the Cecilia banner, I think, unless you're really into PvP. Now onwards with the adjustments and optimizations, the first thing that I'm very curious to know more about is this. Players will be able to edit the number of battles for multi-battle up to a max of 20 times. So I guess you don't have to multi-battle fixed 10 times. You can actually do it like, you know, maybe you want to do it just 7 times and you don't want to wait for 7 rounds to complete before you cancel it, right? So maybe this is what it's set out to do. Meanwhile, the settings screen for multi-battle has been optimized. So I'm not sure what this is going to look like and I'm quite excited. And this is something that a lot of you guys requested as well, which is equipment management optimization. So players will be able to filter equipment from more different aspects. So I can't wait to see what this is all about. Can you just sort it according to, like, you know, which equipment gives you the highest speed, for example? I would love to see it. And point number 5, this is something really weird. So optimize Blitz. Take note, it's just Blitz. In the Ritual Miracle and Sonic Miracle, it will now allow battles to follow the attack order set in the battle settings. I'm not super sure what this exactly means. The attack order set prior to update will be reset. Players need to set it again. So I'm pretty sure that what they are referring to is how you target bosses. But the thing is, I always thought that was the case. You know, I always thought that Blitz was just doing it. Was it not? I'm surprised. So what I think this is supposed to be is potentially you can choose to attack the mid-boss or not in the second wave. If that is the case, then yes, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, this is actually pretty hype. Daniel will be added to the Divine Sequencer shop. I'm very happy about this. So we are all going to be able to get R6 Daniel, which is very important because using his second skill, I believe, grants him a new turn. So that will allow him to spam a little bit better. So if you're running like manual PvP, for example, you can start with your attack up buff and then do your AoE control. Not bad. And I guess that's about it. Yep, that's it. So there's pack adjustments and all that, but I don't think you guys care too much about it. But there will be a new Jiangman skin, by the way. So yeah, it's something that I noticed. Where is it? The Radiant M Pass will now provide the Faded Reverie. Super freaking cool. You know I'm gonna get it. You know I'm gonna get it. I'm a major Jiangman stan. Okay, so that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Are you hyped about the new Espers or not? Let me know what I missed in terms of Ginny as well. Because I cannot for the life of me think of where she might be extremely good in, because you need to taunt. And most bossing content in this game cannot be taunted unless you're talking about like the tower content. But if you're going to do tower content, single target really, not super sure. But then again, it really depends on how she works when she's actually released. And obviously, I'm going to do a lot of tests for her. So yeah, stay tuned for all of those videos. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now that's it, this has been Javid free to play. And as always, I will see you in the next video.